Keeping secrets in Rails, particularly in open source projects. I want to, this is a lightning talk, so I'm going to go quickly. This is an old problem, so there's lots of solutions out there. I'm really only going to focus on two. And I'm just going to get started here. There we go. Okay, I want to make sure that everyone's on the same page here, and I know that there's like different levels of ability. This is like a huge scope in the audience. So I am going to take the time just to explain the problem. So open source projects require sharing your code. If you go on GitHub, you can put your code up. You put your code up there. You have other contributors. You check PRs. But there is a problem now, especially that's becoming larger. That even though you want to share your code, there's all sorts of great tools out there that require you to have secrets. So potentially in your code, there are things like passwords, account names, authentication keys that we want to keep secret. And it's very important to keep secret, especially if you're using a service like GitHub, because there are people who are scraping GitHub and similar code sharing sites for exactly that kind of information. And it can be very problematic if they get it from you. To start, because this has been an ongoing problem, Rails finally in 4.1 has integrated into it a solution called Secrets YAML. Now if you start a Rails 4.1 project, a Secrets YAML file is generated for you. The development, this is just an example of the YAML file. You can put in your, you put in a pair, so the name of the variable and the key that you want to put in there. But it's actually interesting, in the Secrets YAML you can put more complicated objects in as well and have those stored. But this would be the standard usage. So then when you're using the secret, this is like an idea of like a cloud storage a configuration file. You could then reference the secret by using Rails application secrets and the name of the object that you have stored in your secrets file. So the benefits of Secret YAML is it takes all the secrets out of your code. If you're using it right, then you're going to use it to take all those secrets out of your code. Additionally, you're going to put them in one place, which is a very good thing for keeping things secure. Like if you have guns at home, you want to get them in a gun cabinet. You want to have all those risky things in one place so you have the same level of security for all of them. There are still some challenges. It's not a complete solution yet, Secret YAML. You're going to have to deal with some other problems that are going to arise. First, it isn't by default added to your git ignore file. So it's a problem you do need to git ignore. You can just add the file to your ignore file, but then of course you're going to have an issue arising. So now your secrets are not going to be part of your repository. So if you are sharing your code, you need to tell people, give people some indication of what tools are going to need to use with your project. So what you can do for that is you could make an example file, which is just the, it has the same structure as your Secrets YAML, but you then add your keys, or just a demonstration of the structure you're going to have there. One issue is a lot of people like to use Git as a tool not only to share the code, but also to push into development with a service like Heroku, which is very popular. So you can't actually, well, what do you do in that situation? How do you get your secrets into your production environment? Well, there is a handy tool that has been created to utilize secrets with Heroku. It's called the Heroku Secrets Gem. All it does is it adds a rake task. If you're familiar with how Heroku works, it has the environmental variables set up. So it just adds a rake task to your list of tasks in your project that will push all your secret YAMLs to Heroku as keys. there. So one other solution I want to talk about is Figaro. So there's a secrets YAML. It's out of the box. It's great, but does require a little bit of configuration. Figaro, especially if you're working with Heroku, is a simplified solution. So the advantage of Figaro is it actually stores values in environmental variables. And it does so for every environment. So if you don't actually have to start finagling to have your secrets in one place in development and in another place in production, they're all going to be handled the same, no matter what your environment is. Another handy feature is it doesn't commit by default. So when you actually run the generators to run your application.yaml is what Figaro uses, you're actually going to find that it also edits your Git, it appends your Git ignore file and adds the file, the ignore code there as well. So if you do use the Rails generator to set up Figaro, it's going to actually ignore the file and will never end up on GitHub. And if it doesn't, if one of these files ends up on GitHub, it can be a real pain to get it back down. And also it has the rate task built in. So you don't actually have to get, even though it is an additional gem to Rails, it's sort of a complete solution for Heroku deployment. That's it. Fast talk, lightning. Any questions?
Does that Heroku secrets actually read the environmental variables back into Rails.application.secrets on the other side? Like when you're running in Heroku, do you still access that via Rails.application.secrets?
No, actually, you're going to be using them through the environmental variables, and you can actually do a neat trick with embedded Ruby to make that work, but it does require a little bit more finagling than just using Figaro, which is one of the big advantages to doing that. It's not hard. Like once you do it once, it's easy, but when you look at it at first, it's a little strange. Any other questions?
Just curious about your general thoughts about the secret that I agree that I definitely Figaro instead of it.
Yeah. I think it was a different, separate project at first. I think they probably favored it because it's a simpler setup than Figaro. So Figaro is even though it has sort of like the simple code flexibility as opposed to Figaro, which doesn't require much configuration but isn't as customizable. So I believe that was sort of the philosophy why they went that way. I didn't actually look at the popularity of it as an independent project versus Figaro. Maybe there was a factor there as well. Personally, I think if you are using Heroku, then Figaro makes a lot more sense. Any other questions? Yes. Oh, sorry, yeah. Yeah, so in the example I gave, it had a public key and a secret key. You can actually, one of the advantages about the extra flexibility in the secrets approach is that you can actually put any object in there. So you're not limited, you can put like two separate keys, two separate references, or you can like Tristan mentioned in his talk, the YAML, the Ruby conversion is very good back and forth. So the advantage of the secrets is you don't actually have to even limit yourself like you do with Figaro to just putting like a text key or a number key. You could actually throw in a whole Rails object in there and use it however you want. And so there is the benefits in the secrets file of potentially using it for other purposes.
This actually happened to me. I have
Yeah. Yeah.
Be really careful, especially your history.
Yeah. Actually, there was a student at Block.io from like several years past that had the exact same thing. They had pushed their AWS keys, and then one month they just get a bill for tens of thousands of dollars, and a letter from the FBI comes the following month. So they had to like, because it wasn't actually like what's also was being shared there was problematic. So you gotta watch that stuff, like it, because they can link back to you, and like you said, like it does, like it usually works its way out in the end, but it's gonna be a huge hassle. So you gotta watch that stuff, and especially like if you were like a commercial entity, then like you're even more at risk. Yeah. Okay.
You've already like published your secret for your application by accident. One of your repos, you can generate a new one really easily. And just
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
like it allows people to use that secret. So
You can also with some of the advanced features of Git, you can like rewrite history as well. So you can actually repair the existing repo, but it can be time consuming, and you have to be careful to make sure you get everything out of there. So definitely it can be fixed, but it's much easier not to make a problem, the mistake in the beginning. Much easier. Okay. Thanks.